actually want to start off and congratulate Tyler Van Dyke. I believe has just been named the ACC Rookie of the Week, and Jalen Knighton, who is the ACC Running Back of the Week, both well-deserved and for certain we needed every bit of their contribution to defeat a really, really good NC State football team on Saturday night. But obviously in our league, I think the biggest score line of the day took place in Heinz Field with Clemson going down to Pitt, and Pitt really deserved winners. I mean, won the game, played outstanding. You know, when you see someone put 464 yards of offense on Clemson's defense, that stands out. And Kenny Pickett right now is, you know, he may be the best quarterback in the country, and we've played some really, really good quarterbacks this year. So another great challenge for us. Obviously, it was a good feeling in the building yesterday when the players came in, but I would say it was a quick turnaround in terms of putting the state win to bed and getting our attention on Pitt, because they're certainly deserving of it right now. I mean, them and Wake Forest are the class of our league, so we got a chance to go on the road against another top, 17th ranked team, and get into another great. We've had great games with Pitt in the past, and we expect this to be no different. Questions?
Hi, Manny. How much did this victory kind of reinvigorate the team as a unit, and how has it affected their psyche going into Pitt? And I also wanted to know a little more about Jalen. He brings kind of a double dimension to the offense and how important he's been.
Well, Susan, there's no question that winning helps your confidence. I think as was on display, I mean, the guys were working, the guys were fighting for each other, but you want to see confidence. And that's, I mean, if you look at Pitt, look at the season that Pitt's had, how confident they've gotten week in and week out with how they've played. You can make the same argument for NC State. I mean, winning does breed confidence if you manage it the right way and continue to improve. So it was good, as I mentioned, it was good to see their efforts rewarded with a victory. But there's still plenty of things on that tape that need to be fixed, that need to be improved for us to really be the team that we want to be. And then, as you mentioned, Jalen, I think there's two things that are exciting. One is obviously the explosive nature to his game, not just as a runner, but as a receiver. We've seen that 2 weeks in a row, scoring touchdowns from way out, and what that does to a game, because, Pitt's always very, very difficult on defense. And, sometimes it's going to come down to explosive play. There's not going to be a lot of pretty long drives against a Pat Narduzzi defense. So the ability to break an explosive run or to get out on a pass play and to go all the way, you got to do that sometimes against defenses like what we faced last week and what we'll face this week. But I'm also really proud of Jalen and his ability to run in between the tackles and get some of the hard yardage in there, not just everything being out on the perimeter. And some of those plays are as important. Sometimes getting 4 yards when, maybe 2 are available, those are important as the big ones as well. So I think he's very well-rounded. He's playing with a lot of confidence. And like I said, we sure need it.
Thanks.
Next, we'll go to Matt Shodell. Matt.
Oh, hey, Manny. So to build on Susan's first part of her question a little bit. So like the team's been playing so hard, I can't remember, honestly, seeing many teams playing this hard. So I was wondering, the driving force for that. I mean, obviously they're playing for each other, for the coaches, like normal, but is there maybe like something extra going on? In the past, there's the us against the world thing from Miami. Is this maybe in a sense like us against the negativity on the outside type deal? Like, I just wanted to sort of get your thoughts on that.
It would be hard to say exactly what makes 100 people play hard in terms of that type of psyche. I do think it's kind of, starts in our off-season program. I mean, we've obviously had some ups and downs in 3 years, but one thing we've done every year is we've had some big comebacks, whether I was coming back down from 28-0 against Virginia Tech. Last year, obviously 2 double-digit fourth quarter deficits on the road, where we came from behind. I mean, the team has shown mental toughness and the team has shown resilience. Obviously this year they've been put to a different type of test with the way that we've started. But I got to credit the players. I think it's part of the leadership. I think it's part of the people that we have. We got really good kids, and we got kids that want to fight. They're in it together. And I think it's that mix of old leadership and young guys, giving us a boost that's really helped us, through these last few weeks.
Thanks, Carter. I'm having a video issue, so sorry, Manny. I hope you can hear me at least. You mentioned, Pitt and Kenny Pickett. Obviously, they are off to a great start. a lot got made, about 7 different coastal champions in 7 years. And this is sort of Pitt's turn, I guess, right now to at least midway through the year to set itself as maybe the best team in the division. What is it about the coastal that has led to this never ending roller coaster of it's just really, really good, or really, really difficult to be, for lack of a better term, dominant in this division, more than maybe 1 year in a row?
Trying to think of a good way to put it. And I'm trying to think broadly, more broad than our division and more broad than our conference. You could probably make an argument that in any league around the country, that unless you have a team that, there are certain programs that right now that have that are in that top 6 mode, that have been that top 6, top 8 mode, and have been there now for a bit of a run. And those teams usually dominate those conferences. And then what's left is, if you don't have one of those teams, then you're probably gonna have a lot of parity. You're probably gonna have different types of champions. Obviously that's our goal. Our goal is to get back to the point where, we're one of those teams in the top of the country, which means that we're one of the teams that's dominating our division in our league. And
Just joining Manny
you see that around the country. But I think if you don't have that power, then you're gonna have I think it bears out every week. Other than, just a select few of teams at the top of college football, there's a ton of parity around. So I think what's going on in our division is probably just more indicative of what's going on everywhere. You look at the Atlantic. It's hard to say right now who's going to win the Atlantic division right now. So I think it's just kind of where we're at. We're trying to, that's our job here. That's what I'm passionate about. Is getting this program to the point where we have the ability to dominate this conference, but we have a lot of respect for these teams that are in this division. There's some really, really good coaches and good players, and it's never easy to win your division.
Manny, a quick follow. You've mentioned in the past couple of weeks the importance of I think you've called it Tell the Truth Sunday. How does that differ after a win? How important is it to be critical after a win as well? Thank you. It's
absolutely important. What we always say is that, the offense players only watch the offense film, the defense players watch the defense film, the guys in special teams watch the special teams plays. Your film never says whether you won or lost. It is only a collection of plays that happen on your side of the ball. So to that point, what we're always trying to do is we're always trying to correct the performance. There's always a way to perform better. And certainly in all 3 phases, there's a ton of room for improvement. So we're happy that we found a way to win the game. But again, I do think we were a better football team last Saturday than we were in Chapel Hill. And I think we're actually better in Chapel Hill than we were against Virginia. We've got to continue to make that type of improvement to where we are with Pitt. There's still a high sense of urgency in this program because we started behind.
Coach, want to ask you about, ever since you were kind of the head coach here, you've talked about the importance of alignment from head coach, athletic director to president. I'm curious, after Blake James's actions last Friday, if you feel like the alignment between you and him is still there right now.
Yeah, I would think it is. I think I know this, we both want the same things. But to me, what I'm aligned with a program that's mentally tough. I'm aligned with a program that's filled with competitors. I'm aligned with a program that looks adversity in the eye and finds a way to overcome it. And I think that's reflected in the way that our guys play. This is to me, for me personally, this is not just a job. I'm not trying to win a game to keep my job. This is a passion for me. This is, every time I walk in on the cane walk and I make sure I want to make eye contact with every 10, 11, 12-year-old that I see, because I think about myself in the Orange Bowl, watching the Canes and how important it is to me to get this thing back to that level, and fully understanding how difficult it is to get there, how much work it takes, how much heavy lifting it takes, and not just by one person. It's a staff, it's the program, it's the entire university, it's our network of donors. It takes a lot of heavy lifting to get back to the top. The biggest mistake is the assumption that it's easy. It can never be easy to be at the top in any line of work. It should be hard. It's meant to be hard. That's what makes it so special when you're there. And I think what's so cool inside our locker room is we have a lot of guys who embrace doing hard things, and I think that's what you've seen on the football field over the last couple of weeks. We want to make sure those results are wins, and that's why we got to get better. We have to coach better to play better. But the other part, and that's why I say the toughness, the resiliency, and the way to look adversity in the eye and to not flinch and not blink. There's a locker room of guys that don't flinch. And to me, that's the alignment I'm for.
Two questions for you. The first one's kind of out of left field just because I'm writing a story specific to them, but American Heritage School, I know you got two guys from there in Plantation, and they've got 9 guys now in the NFL. I think it's third most of any high school in the country. Just curious about what makes that place special. I know Coach Rumpf obviously played a big role in turning that place around.
Yeah, I think just from hearing Coach Rumpf talk about it, number one, they've got great leadership at the top part of the school. The school president, they're about the right things. And if you're about the right things, you normally attract the right kids. Well, first of all, you attract the right staff, whether that was Mike Rump or Pat Surtain, and they've got they've always had a phenomenal group of assistant coaches in there. So their kids are going to be well coached. And there's other programs in Broward and Day that are the same way. I don't want to just think, single out Heritage. But they do. They attract really, really talented people. And that's, kind of how you build a great program, right? Like-minded people attract like-minded people. And then once you have a framework and a pattern for success, then now your success sells itself. So you see that with, whether that's, Heritage or STA or, Gibbons or Deerfield or Chaminade. I mean, there's so many programs, across Broward County, Western that have found a way to Dillard's, doing a great job right now. There's a bunch of schools that are finding a way to have some success. And that's, and again, I'm leaving some out, not intentionally, but that's a big part of it, what wins up there in Broward County.
And the other one was just, I know the 2 plays right before the half defensively, the 2 big pass plays. I know that probably bothered you. Just curious, if it was a coverage breakdown in terms of guys just not doing what they're supposed to do, or guys getting to the ball late. I guess what's the best way to sort of describe what happened on those 2 pass plays?
The best way is not the word bothered. It would be a much stronger word than bothered. I mean, the first play, it's cover 2. It's 4 verticals against cover 2. And all we got to do is stay in our half of the field. If you stay in half of the field, the quarterback doesn't even throw the football to that outside lane. So we were guessing. We were trying to guess and anticipate, on another throw or something like that. It was a mistake. And I mean, mistakes in critical times get punished like that. And then the same thing with on the next play. And we didn't have a safety in the middle of the field. We didn't match up to the vertical threat. I mean, it was just, it was bang, bang. It was just as poor a play as you can have in any time of the game. But then when you consider it was in the last 40 seconds, just inexcusable. The proud thing I have, we went in the locker room, we owned it. We put it in the past, which is where it lived. And then the offense did a great job of picking up the defense, went down the field to start the third quarter, got a touchdown, got us back in the lead. And then I thought we played really great complementary football from there to get.
Yeah, Coach, I wanted to follow on that. I just want to get the cornerbacks. We saw Marcus Clark and Isaiah Dunson play more. We saw Couch and Ivy play less. Could you summarize kind of where the cornerback position, the shuffling, kind of where it is right now as a group?
Yeah, I thought Stevenson played very well. I thought Marcus Clark played really, really well. I thought Marcus, for his first start, I think he had 1 missed tackle, but other than that, he tackled, great, covered great. I mean, they're really, really good at throwing fades in the red zone. He did a great job breaking up the fade in the red zone. Really encouraged by his play. Couch was basically sick all last week. So was kind of struggling, had to get an IV at some point during the game. He just wasn't up for the races on Saturday. So it'll be obviously with Pickett. TC's a guy that we believe in a lot, and it's going to be an important week for him to do a great job in coverage against them because they've got really talented wide receivers at Pitt. DJ Ivy still factors in for us. Still does a nice job playing. So we're going to need some depth. You mentioned Dunson. Dunson may have to move to safety. I actually meant to mention this. We're going to lose Bubba Bolden for the rest of the year. In the Virginia game, he hurt his shoulder. He's tried to play with it the last 2 or 3 weeks. It's affecting his tackling. It's affecting his overall play. And he can't be the player out there and help us, especially at that position where it's unfair to have a guy kind of playing with half an arm. So he's got to get an operation on that to get it fixed. So Bubba will miss the rest of the year. And it's a tough loss for us with the leadership he brings and the communication he brings to us on the back end. But another opportunity for some of the guys, the young guys, to step up and claim playing time.
I'm sorry. Hey, Manny, anybody who's been in the business as long as you have is going to go through what you're going through right now and what you went through last week, and all kinds of people you don't know, people questioning your job security and can you do this, can you do that? because of that, because you know the nature of this business, I don't know how much easier is the word, or how much, because you know it's probably coming at some point, you can just put it out of your mind, not think about it, go on and do your job. How do you, because we know the players were impassioned about saying things about you last week. How do you go about this with all that swirling?
I mean, the only way I know is you don't make it about you. I mean, I guess that's why I keep going back to when you play a game and when you win or lose, right? You come in the next day, you obsess over it. And again, like, you can win by 50 or lose by 50. You get with the players, we talked about it before, it's tell the truth Sunday, you go on, but then the competition for the next game, it starts immediately. I mean, last night we're on Pitt, like we're competing against Pitt. And to me, the way a competitor thinks is that, you've got to out-compete Pitt's players and coaches on Sunday night. You got to out-compete them on Tuesday practice. You got to out-compete them on Wednesday. I mean, it is everything you're doing, you're competing. Now, the game is the ultimate manifestation of that week-long competition, but you're engaged. That's kind of what I mentioned Saturday night after the game. Like, it's hard, I guess, to explain, but you're engaged in a battle all week, and that is all consuming. Because all you're thinking about at that moment is what are they trying to do to find a way to beat you, and you got to find everything. You got to make sure that everything is covered, that there's no stone left unturned, or every other cliche you can name. I mean, and so it is. That's it. I mean, and that's the great thing. I mean, and that's why I sympathize, because our families deal with it. I understand because they don't, during the week we get to go fix it, and we get to go get into a competition where everybody else has to wait till the next game Saturday at kickoff. So I understand why it's difficult from Monday to Friday. But inside the building, I think the players understand that all we're doing during the week is we're competing to become a better version of what we were a week ago the following Saturday.
Hey, Manny, I had two questions. The first, I guess, since Tom just asked that one, would be an extension of that, in that you've got ballpark 100 players on the team, and they've all got moms and dads and uncles and brothers and sisters and friends and high school coaches. So really, you're managing 500-600 people and trying to keep everybody together and on the same page and not pointing fingers and attitudes right and all that. I imagine that just you went 322 days between victories against the Power 5 team. How much does winning help you as the head coach in that challenge of just keeping everybody together?
Doesn't hurt, Gary. I'll tell you that much. But I will say this: it does help. But all you have to do is look around the country, even in the portal. Sometimes guys want to play more than they even want to win. So I think it's especially important now in the era of the one-time transfer portal, of who you are, being who you say you are to the players, because it's impossible to keep them all happy. There's just more that want to play than snaps you have to give out. And we saw that with the team, in September. I think we're way more settled as a roster than we were back in September. But it's difficult, and I think you got to keep you got to tell the truth, and you got to sell it. And we always talk about critiquing the performance and not the performer, where nothing's personal, and the players have to believe that you're invested in them reaching their maximum potential. But despite all that, they're still going to want to play, and we can't make them all happy. And so you just try to show them as much as possible that we're for them. You try to show them as much as possible, and that doesn't mean everything's unicorns and rainbows. I mean, sometimes being for them is telling them the hard truth, and some want to hear it, some will hear it, and maybe their families don't want to hear it. Like you said, I mean, yes, you are responsible for a large network, but I think the most important thing for our staff is being who we say we are, and being the same people every day. And that's why we try to, we grade everything we do. You show video, which we try to keep it non-subjective and non-opinions, because Lord knows there's enough opinions to go around on, what this, what that. So we try to measure everything we do, because that way either the film or the numbers, they say what they say. And you've seen that this year with some of the adjustments we've had to make in depth charts. I mean, it's not personal. But there's some spots where if we're not getting the productivity we need, we got to move on. And I'd argue that that's helped us this year.
And then as a follow to that, recruiting began with so much promise on June the 1st with the barbecue and the players and the level of players that you guys were able to get out there that day. And obviously for a million different reasons, the circumstances of the season and everything else, it probably hasn't gone but by your exact blueprint to this point. Now you're getting closer to December. Can you just give us your summation of where you feel recruiting is and what you guys need to get done here in the next, I'd say, 6-7 weeks?
Right. Well, in the summer, what we said was we're going to be really selective in terms of taking commitments. And we were, but we really pushed the quality of the commitments. And people would say, oh gosh, they don't have many commitments, but the average ranking puts them in the top 15 or top 20 or whatever it was. But of course, the collective was going to be ranked lower because we don't have very many commitments, and we just didn't have that way. And we never felt uncomfortable not having that. I don't know with where our numbers are at, how many people we're going to be able to sign in December. Anyway, talking about from high school, it's certainly not going to be anywhere near 25. So for us to pad our class up right now with a bunch of players that we don't feel that maybe are the guys to take us to the top of the mountain just to climb up the rankings or whatever, I just don't know that that's where we want to be. We're about to enter an offseason unlike any offseason ever in college football history. And we have all been extended 7 more initial scholarships, but I think it's very important. We live in an era now where you have a chance to really dramatically improve your team from year to year, maybe more so than ever in the past. So yeah, and then Gary, also, I mean, sometimes where you're at factors into what the cycle is like locally, and what spots are deeper than other spots per se. So I'm not going to sit here and say, oh gosh, boy, it'd be great if we had, 7 more high profile kids committed. Of course, that'd be better. So I'm not trying to make it like that's not true, but there's still some really, really high profile guys that we've been running the whole race on that we know are not going to decide to the end. I don't think this time, I know this time last year, we didn't have James, we didn't have LT, and I'm not even sure we had Jake Garcia this time last year. Those were game-changing guys that we were able to get at the end, and that transformed our class. So if we had sat and had this conversation, of course, the record was going better a year ago. If we had this conversation a year ago, the guys that have really turned that class and took it to a different level, I don't even think they were in the boat yet. So the big key is this, Gary, is that and this is the thing, look, when we don't play well, certainly that's going to provide some challenges. And the challenges always come from the teams recruiting against us. There's a lot of reasons to recruit against the University of Miami. Everyone that comes down here wants to see us fail. But that's another layer to when we turn on ourselves. When I say we, meaning Miami, when we turn against our program, all we do is scare recruits away. That's all we do. All we do is make it more difficult to recruit down here, instead of the opposite, circling the wagons and more of that don't flinch mentality. So I get it. I know the results have to be it's a results business. I understand that, but the results come as the recruits come. And you're seeing that this year. You see the impact. Some of these impact freshmen. All I do is look at the game on Saturday. So I think things are going to be I think where we stand today in October will look very different in December. But the main thing to me now, given the current structure of college football, is who are the 85 guys that run up onto the field the first day of practice in August? Because that's your football team you got to go fight with. And there's a lot of, like I said, we're in a new era right now, and I'm curious to see how that goes.
Hey, Manny, kind of focusing back on the safety room, especially with Bubba's injury, keeping him out for the year. I guess, where do things stand from a depth chart standpoint in terms of rotations? I don't believe we saw Gervin out there against NC State. I think you said, my connection's been a little spotty, so I think you said Dunson's going to move to safety. I guess, where do things stand? And I guess also Avonte, how much more do you anticipate him getting?
Yeah, Avonte got a lot of reps on Saturday, or he was able to play in our third down package Saturday. Gervin did play special teams. And I think Gervin's can have a role to play going forward. We do think Dunson can help us at safety, and then obviously James and Cam. So I think that gives you 4 or 5 capable guys, not just in terms of playing the 2 safety positions, but when we talk about sub packages and nickel and dime and things like that. So like I said, I don't think it's just one guy replaces someone like Bubba, but I think we feel good about the depth we have and the way that, we've been developing. I think it's been very difficult. I think, T-Rob's and DVD both. I mean, DVD get Marcus ready to go and T-Rob with those two young freshmen. Now, it's hard to play two true freshmen at safety. That's, we did it with three linebackers here, back in 2016, but to do it with two safeties that doesn't happen very often. And the way those guys play, they're not perfect. And they know there's places they need to improve, but to go out there and to be able to function and not have, bust and cut guys loose and that type of thing has been impressive to see.
Hey, Coach, wanted to talk to you about two plays at the end of the game and see if maybe it has a little something to do with momentum. The first play was the last tackle when NC State had the ball, a really solid open field tackle. The teams had trouble tackling all year, but they make that play. And then the second play was Tyler Van Dyke throwing that last first down before you guys can kneel it down. How do you take the success of those two moments and carry it forward this week to Pitt? How does that help confidence?
Well, I think the Cam tackle, I think that kind of put the cherry on the cake of our tackling. We had, by the way, we had 8 missed tackles on Saturday, which, and that number had been in the 20 region and stuff like that. So it's not complicated. We played better because we tackled better, and to see Cam make an open field tackle like that on a play where, as you mentioned, where, that wasn't always 100% proposition for us. I think that gave everybody confidence that, the point of emphasis that we put on, during the week. And again, as we mentioned, some of the depth chart changes matter, and we are a better version of ourselves because of that. I think the sequence when we were on offense, I think was in line with kind of our thought process during the course of the game. I mean, we had to be aggressive. I mean, to me, when you're up by 1 and, certainly State had 2 timeouts, but there was about 2:40 left, something like that. I mean, punting them the ball with 1:40 left in the game with the way that they can score. I mean, notwithstanding the mess at the end of the first half, but the way they can throw the ball and the way that they can score. I mean, when you're down by, and they need a field goal to win, so our mentality is if we're up by 1 late in the game, it's as if the game is tied. We still got to be aggressive. So we had a run on first down. They blitzed off the edge. We kind of missed a block. You see on film, there's a gap. We thought we could spit it out there. Didn't get it done. Second down, we were going to sprint out and throw the football. A safe pass. But if it wasn't there, which they did a nice job taking away, we didn't want to throw the ball away. Of course, we got to keep the ball running. So Tyler, sort of takes a sack. We lose a couple more yards than we wanted to. But then we get there in a 3rd and long, and you've seen that a million times where somebody just runs a draw, they punt the football, and and now here it goes. They have no timeouts, but they've got the ball. And the premise is you can only score in this game with the football. That's obvious, but it's still true. And we ran a play. We knew they'd be in maximum coverage. We thought they might be expecting a run, but they're going to play an 8-man drop. And we had run this play twice earlier in the game, and we got Mallory running a crossing route, and they're going to cover Mallory. But Jalen Knighton is running underneath of Mallory. So if they cover Mallory, you can dump it to Jalen. We converted a 3rd and 10 on that play earlier in the game. Now it was even hard to get 14 or 15, whatever we needed, but that was going to give us our best chance against a drop 8, sort of prevent coverage. And football gods are funny. For whatever reason, they didn't cover Mallory. Now, the coolest part of the story, and I did mention this, is that a vet quarterback would have said, we've already run this twice. They covered Mallory both times. I'm going to Jalen. And for Tyler to trust his read and it happened. It was like the parting of the Red Sea. And all of a sudden, Will breaks over the middle of the field and stick it on him was big time. And then Will did a great job. He kind of throttled down because he was open in the middle of 2, zone defenders. And so happy for Will, who obviously played great Saturday, to make that play after some of the ups and downs he had early in the season. For him to make that play and get that first down, I thought it was a great play call by Rhett, but a great trusting his progression by Tyler. And that's some vet stuff. Rookies don't really do that. It's certainly not rookies in their 3rd game against the number 1 3rd down defense in the country. So NC State will bemoan the fact that they left them wide open. The ball would have gone to Jalen had it done, but sometimes, fortune favors the bold.
Hey, Manny, I wanted to ask you a little more about Avonte. It seemed like he was in there basically on every kind of 3rd and long you guys had. So obviously you feel really comfortable with him in that role, I would assume. Just where is he kind of at? What's he kind of I would assume he's going to have to play more now with Bubba out, but just where's kind of your comfort level with him and all the different things he can. He
will. I'll tell you, he actually probably got in a little bit more than we thought he would on Saturday. Avonte is drinking out of a fire hose right now a little bit, trying to get up to speed with the rest of the guys. but I'm going to say this in the best way possible. We didn't notice him on Saturday. and sometimes, like, with DBs or like offensive linemen, if you don't notice them, it's kind of actually sometimes a good thing. I mean, certainly, you want to make PBUs and interceptions and whatnot, but that just means that, more often than not, he was where he was supposed to be. He did his job. And again, as we kind of say around here, when talented guys do their job, usually the talent will come out. So proud of him for that. But I think, yeah, again, whether it's on our dime package, getting more comfortable with the base defense, depending on what the game plan is that week, I think that's kind of where that's sort of the platform to grow off of. And then special teams where he played as well.